Hey everyone, have you ever had to do something really, really big and you had to choose? Should I try to do this all by myself or should I ask for help? Well, today we're going to hear an amazing story about a giant project and the really big choice that came with it. Seriously, think about it for a second. Maybe it was a super tricky math problem, or learning how to ride your bike without training wheels, or even building a giant Lego castle. It can get kind of frustrating when you try to do it all alone, right? Well, this story is all about that feeling and that big decision we all have to make. So let's dive right in. We're going to break down this really big choice. It's a choice that everyone gets to make, and as you'll see, it can change pretty much everything. Okay, our special word for today is depend. It's a great word. It just means to trust and rely on someone or something. You know, it's kind of like when you do a trust fall with a friend and you just know they're going to catch you. That's what depending on someone feels like. Total trust. And this brings us to the most important part of our whole story. This is our big idea. God gives every single one of us a choice. We can choose to depend on Him, or we can choose to depend just on ourselves. So what does that choice actually look like? Well, let's check it out. On one side, depending on God means trusting Him, asking for help when we need it, and really listening to His plans for us. But on the other side, depending on ourselves, well, that's all about doing things my own way, feeling really proud, and maybe even wanting to be famous for what we can do all alone. Okay, now let's see how this choice played out in a super famous story from the Bible. It happened a long, long time ago, right after Noah and the Great Flood. So picture this. The world was getting a fresh start. Noah's family started to grow, and pretty soon there were lots and lots of people. God told them to spread out and fill the whole earth. But some of the people thought they had a better idea. They chose to depend on themselves. So they came up with this huge plan. They all got together and said, hey, let's build a giant city for ourselves with a tower that's so tall it reaches all the way up to the sky. That way we'll make a name for ourselves. See, it was all about them. And they got to work. That tower went up, 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 higher and higher every day. The people were so proud of what they were building. They got so busy and so focused on their amazing tower that they started to think they were the powerful ones. And they kind of forgot all about God. But you know what? God was watching the whole time. He saw how proud they were, and He knew that path wasn't going to make them happy. So He came up with a plan, not an angry plan, but a loving one. You see, God knew that if they kept depending only on themselves, they would get totally lost. And He loved them way too much to just stand by and watch them go the wrong way. He needed to get their attention. So God did something completely unexpected. He said, let's go down and mix up their language so they can't understand each other anymore. Now, this might sound a little strange, but it wasn't a punishment. It was actually a rescue plan. Can you just imagine how confusing and maybe a little funny that was? All of a sudden, one worker would shout, hey, I need more bricks, and the person next to him would hear total gibberish and hand him a shovel instead. No one could understand anyone. The work on the giant tower just stopped. And what happened next? Well, since they couldn't talk to each other, people started finding other people who spoke their new language. They formed new groups and began to spread out all over the world, which is exactly what God had lovingly wanted them to do in the first place. His plan worked. Now that story happened a long time ago, but that same choice to depend on God or on ourselves is something we still have today. Let's look at a story about a girl named Linda. So Linda was in a really tough spot. She moved to a new country called Belgium, and when she went to her new school, everybody was speaking French. The only problem was, Linda didn't know any French. Imagine sitting in class all day and not understanding a single word. Wow, that's a huge challenge. So what did Linda do? Did she just try to figure it all out by herself? Nope. She and her mom made a different choice. They decided to depend on God. And here's what they did. First, they prayed every single day for God's help. And second, they worked super hard together to learn the language. And guess what happened? It was amazing. In just a few weeks, Linda wasn't just doing okay in school, she was getting the highest scores in her entire class, even on the French test. How cool is that? Her teacher couldn't believe it. She went to Linda's mom and asked, how did she learn so fast? And her mom's answer was so simple, but so powerful. She just said, we prayed and we worked together. They knew exactly who had helped them. So we have the story of the big tower and the story of Linda. They both teach us the exact same lesson about where we put our trust. So let's talk about what this means for you and me. It's your turn to trust. Here's our memory verse for today. It's like a little prayer you can keep in your heart for any time you feel like you're facing a big challenge. It's a way of telling God, I choose you. I'm putting all my trust in you. And it all comes back to our big idea. It's this simple, powerful choice that we get to make every single day. When things get tough, are we going to try and build our own tower all by ourselves? Or are we going to ask our strong and loving God for his help? So I'm going to leave you with this one question to think about. What is one thing this week that you can choose to depend on God for? Maybe it's a test at school, or a problem with a friend, or even just trying to be a bit nicer to your brother or sister. What's one thing you'll trust him with?